What's up, guys? This is going to be DC's Bailey reporting in, doing our episode 1 of season 7, All's Well as It Ends Well, of The Flash, the season premiere. Honestly, I want to say this was a really great season premiere. I really do. And all things considered, I feel like they did a great job with what they were given. Now, I do think it could have been better. I do feel like this might have been better than what we would have gotten originally, because they did have about 6 months or however long it really was. Almost a year, honestly, now. Working on this storyline, and I feel like it was better than what we were originally getting, because to me that story was kind of dragging. But yeah, right now we're about 2 episodes away from the final of the Mirrorverse storyline, and I do feel like we're kind of ending it on a stronger note than we were originally. But yeah, this was a really well done episode, I feel like, again, all things considered. Now, I feel like the episode started really very strongly off. I do think it's very interesting the way that they are going about having Barry deal with the possible loss of his powers, and exactly the ways that he's combating that, with him using a cryogenic sleep, kind of force himself to not use his speed, because it is an aspect of his life that he uses constantly, even just thinking. We saw last season, and it's really, and it was an interesting aspect, and it makes me wonder whether it was something we were going to get last year, whether we were going to get a small time skip a few episodes before the season ended, showing this is what he was doing, or if it was going to be something that he used to ensure he was something that he did every day, that they only woke him up when they exactly needed him. So that's kind of interesting in itself. Now, I absolutely loved that they are doing something completely different with the suit this year, how it kind of transforms around him rather than it's something that he's going to be putting on, because it is very reminiscent of the comic book lore, especially lately, where it is the Speed Force that kind of creates the suit around him. It's the Speed Force that transforms around him and creates the suit. It is something that Wally West originally found out, and then later the New 52 kind of brought in that horizon and had Barry doing it. Yeah, I really kind of don't think that's the route they're going right now, just because at the time that happened, at the beginning of the episode, the Speed Force was kind of leaving Barry. He didn't have as much access to it, and he wouldn't be wasting that to do what he did. So I really feel like it's more of a nanotechnology. I know a few people have been saying that. I really do feel like it's kind of a nanotechnology that Cisco created for the suit before he left, because you really kind of don't even see the stream where the cowl kind of meets the rest of the suit like you used to in the in season 6. So I really do like that. The suit looks more streamlined now. It looks more like it's a one-piece suit, which I really do love. So it's going to be very interesting to see how far that goes. I do know budgetary reasons they might not be doing it every episode. It does look like we are getting it in our next one, but I'm not really sure how far they are willing to go with that. That being said, again, it's going to be really very interesting to see how far they go with this aspect of the suit's creation. Now, jumping straight from Barry, we got the Eva storyline, and that was really very interesting. We find out in this episode, because we do see the original, or what we think is the original, Mirror Master Sam Scudder, and we do see what we believe is his demise, because we find out that he was a creation. He was Eva's first experiment. So her saying it's her first experiment makes me wonder, is this a mirror duplicate of Sam Scudder? Is that why he has the powers that he has? Or is this just a regular guy that she found that she experimented on, giving him the powers? I'm kind of leaning towards it's a mirror duplicate, and we might have the actual Sam Scudder somewhere in the Arrowverse. I'm really hoping that's the case, because that way we can get the original. back, we do have. I'm hoping we do kind of get the mirror gun that he has, which allows him to um, do what he has been doing. It's just not a meta power of his. It's more in line with the Captain Cold um, Cold gun. So I'm really hoping that's kind of the case. And we did learn that he and his girlfriend Rosalind were working with Black Hole. We were kind of led to believe that he was the one in charge. He was the one planning everything going on. But it was kind of a farce. We found out that it was Rosalind, his girlfriend, the top, was running the show. He was just made to look like he was in charge. And that was really interesting because we go straight from that and we see and hear how her powers got started, her being an empath, like what Cecile is. And exactly knowing that her powers went from what we have with Cecile, and we're going to be getting that possibly going into with Cecile. Will we get Cecile having those type of powers? Is she going to be upgrading, or not upgrading, but her powers going to be evolving into what Rosalind's have? That's going to be an interesting take. We did see kind of that show itself the way Cecile was talking and dealing with Rosalind, where she did kind of push her feelings onto Rosalind. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting kind of take to go away with, because it does kind of, like I said, question how exactly are Cecile's powers going to evolve. It does kind of bring her future with Team Flash into question, whether she's going to take a more of a role among the team, more than she has as working as kind of like the legal side, kind of helping put away the guys that he deals with, helping Joe. Or is it just going to be, the same old, where she doesn't feel like she needs or she doesn't want to explore these powers more than she already has? That's going to be a really interesting take. And I'm really kind of looking forward to seeing where that goes. Now, we also had, or I should say we found out exactly what's been going on with Ralph. And the whole situation with Sawyer firing. I wasn't exactly sure what was going to be happening with that, because Hartley Sawyer leaving the show kind of left a big hole, and he was going to be taking a bigger role this season with his storyline, and we were going to be seeing more of that elongated man-suit Dibney relationship, which I absolutely loved from the comics, and I was absolutely looking forward to that. They did kind of leave it open for him to return, being that he's really just in hiding right now from Black Hole and Eva. So they kind of left it open for his character to return, both his and Sue's characters to return after this entire debacle ends, which is supposed to be 2 episodes from now. So it makes you wonder, are they going to be recasting? Will they kind of reevaluate the decision of letting him go and bring him back on the show? I do kind of feel like, yeah, he may have made some bad tweets in the past, but honestly, who hasn't? We have seen directors and actors that have done that, who have been fired, who have been returned. James Gunn is one example. So I do kind of wonder exactly what's going to be happening with the future of his character and the future of Hartley. That being said, let's move on. We also got the Iris side of things, which is kind of interesting. I gotta say, the Mirrorverse has not been exactly my favorite storyline the show has taken on. I feel like it's been dragging on way too far. I do feel like what we're getting right now in season 7 is better than the storyline that we were getting in season 6, especially with the Iris side of things, because it just was dragging on really, I feel like, too much throughout the end of last season. This season, though, we got, we started off kind of with a bang with her. We started off with that scene of her imagining herself having dinner, where she thought she actually was having dinner with Barry. And they were talking about Clark and him suggesting a restaurant. And I absolutely loved that. And then it felt kind of like it was a memory, and then you see it's just a hallucination, which she then has throughout this episode, where she sees herself as the waitress. She sees herself working at the paper. And then you see later herself as the mother. You see herself as that mom that she found out she was with Nora, where she wasn't exactly the best person. And these were aspects of her life, I feel like, that kind of weighed her down. That were a big weight on her. And having these essences of her being shown showed exactly what her mental state was, I feel like. It made you feel like she was going crazy. And having her trying to contact Cecile and Commissioner Singh, I felt like, the further she was pushing at that, the further she was straining her mind, and that, again, she was just starting to lose her mind, like Eva said that she would. Then we find out that it's not really what we thought it was. She wasn't losing her mind. She wasn't going crazy or anything like that. What was happening, though, was he had Eva placing these obstacles in front of her because she knows she's getting close to finding an answer. She knows she's getting close to finding the people that she's looking for. And she was trying to stop her. So that was really very interesting. You see exactly where the story is going right now. And it looks like next episode we might be seeing Barry entering the Mirrorverse. Because we do know this storyline ends in the next 2 episodes. And we get the Godspeed going on now. So I'm really looking forward to exactly seeing how she gets out. I'm really hoping we're not getting powers from Iris. Because we did have that last part of the scene with her seeing the computer screen ripple. And I'm really hoping that wasn't her. What I'm thinking it was I think it was Eva keeping tabs on her. For me, I'd rather see Iris stay as that reporter. I'm just not a big fan of characters getting roles that they're not really supposed to be having. I'm very a comic classic kind of guy, and Iris really hasn't had the powers other than that one episode we got in season 3 or 4, I believe it was. We do know from the comics that she has become kind of technologically minded, which she has shown on the show as kind of taking on like an oracle kind of role on the show, where she's at Star Labs keeping tabs, directing to where they need to get to. And I feel like that's kind of the role that she needs to have. But I feel like her bigger role in the show is that reporter side. She is considered almost as good as Lois Lane in the comics, and I feel like they need to show off that side of the character more. And I do love that she started off the Central City Gazette, or I can't remember the name of the paper, the paper that she starts. And I'm loving that. I feel like that's the side of the character that we need to be seeing. But I'm really hoping we're not getting any powers from her. And now, finally, we get what I feel like was the best performance in the entire show. We had Tom Cavanagh's final, or what we believe could possibly be his final, because I'm hoping it's not. I'm really hoping this isn't his final performance on the show, because I really love his characters. Yeah, we get Tom Cavanagh, his Nash Wells, and we see the council at Wells showing up. And they're trying to explain to him exactly what needs to happen for Barry to regain his speed. And it's something that's going to cost him his life. And I loved exactly how he kind of rebelled against this, because for me, as we've seen him come on the show as this broken man, as we've seen all the other Wells. I feel like he was more broken than anybody because he had seen his version of Allegra, who he saw as a daughter, die in front of him. And we see him come on the show, and I feel like at that point in life, he just didn't want to deal with anything else. And I feel like he just didn't want anything being done. He didn't want to make connections with anybody. And then we saw him with his role in Crisis and how that affected him, and how, he went from being this one version of the character to having the complete opposite after Crisis, and how he kind of, I don't know if I want to say inadvertently, but I feel like it was more of an accident creating the connections that he did with the cast, with the Flash family, with Team Flash. And at this point, he didn't want to lose his life, and he was trying to find every solution he could to not have that happen. And one of his solutions were to have Allegra use her powers to push the multiversal particles out of him and into the sphere. It kind of went awry. Instead of going into the sphere, they went into Barry, and it was really interesting to see Barry do something that Tom Cavanaugh has been doing over the last 7 years, and that's taking on the multiple personalities. And I absolutely loved seeing him take on HR's personality, and then we get Sherlock, and then finally you get Wells the Gray, which was hilarious, especially with the way that Chester kind of dealt with him, and the whole question, do you know Gandalf? That was hilarious, but it was also a double-edged sword. And you had all these particles that Barry couldn't handle and were literally killing him, and the only thing keeping him alive was the Speed Force, and that was getting ready to leave him because his speed healing was using it up, and as soon as that finished up, he was going to die. And to finally have HR show up, not HR, but Harry show up and convince Nash what he needed to do. Convince him that every single Wells had come to Barry, had come to Team Flash as a broken man, and they'd left so much better. And it's something that he later tells Barry when Nash retains all that multiversal energy and retains all the other Wells back inside of him. It's something that he tells Barry as he's sacrificing his life. And I absolutely love that scene, seeing Tom switch back and forth between each role so effortlessly. It really was incredible to see that happen. And yeah, I do kind of question how HR was able to show up when he did die in season 3. Whether it's a inadvertent side effect of Crisis, whereas he died in that season. Did he not die? Is he still out there on another Earth? Or is it just his essence was still out there and it entered into Nash? It's a question I feel like I hope we get answers, but I don't know if we're gonna get them. I don't think we probably will. But it was really well done, and just then see have Harry have that conversation with Barry. I honestly, I got a little choked up watching that, because in a lot of ways Harry was a mentor to Barry. He was a mentor to definitely Cisco and Caitlin, and they all kind of grew together to be a big, one big family. And to have to lose both Harry and HR twice now, I feel like it's going to be a huge impact on the team, and we do kind of see that in the preview for next week. I'm really kind of interested exactly to see the reactions we do get from Cisco and Caitlin once they do get back. Um, but yeah, it was incredibly powerful, and to have Barry regain the Speed Force, and what I'm hoping is the original Speed Force from the original timeline, um, and then to have him come back and say he could almost feel them as he was running. So essentially, they're gone, but every time Barry runs, they're going to be with him, and it's something that Allegra said that should hopefully be comforting to him. And it's something that I feel like we can all take away, being that when we do lose somebody, they're always with us. I feel like that was a very powerful moment. And then, we get the final scene from the show. We have we have Eva finally rewatching that tape from her husband. And, she's been fighting and fighting. Whenever anybody tells her that she's dead. She has not believed it 1 second. And then we can finally get the video evidence from the security tapes of the night of the particle explosion that she had died. And that when she hit the mirror, it created a duplicate. So what we've been seeing is that mirror duplicate. I feel like that's a very interesting take, and it's something I've kind of wondered because I haven't really thought, but it's something that I've wondered because there had to have been a reason that he said she died other than just going into the mirror. Because if she had gone through the mirror, you would have thought her husband was saying you're missing, not that you've been dead. It's just the wording that they've been using for the show kind of had that clue to it. But yeah, the next 2 episodes are definitely going to be interesting. I feel like they're going to be a little crazy because I'm very interested to see exactly how Eva takes this news, what's going to happen in the next 2 ones. And then we're going straight into the Godspeed story arc, which I'm very much looking forward to. I was a big fan of that comic series. It's a very interesting version of the character. You have a character that can essentially steal other speedsters' powers. So it's going to be a very interesting way for Barry to kind of combat that. That said, this has been fun, guys. We're going to be going this again later on with Superman and Lois's review. And I'm also going to be doing a few more of my fan castings. That being said, guys, have yourselves a great one, and I will be seeing you later. Remember, like and subscribe.